Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jaleal. We are here today. We have gone through the eclipse in Virgo. The moon has already moved to Libra. Today is March 4th of 2026. So this moon in Libra is calling us to seek for balance in areas that could be out of balance precisely, whether because you need to rest, to take care of your physical body, or attending experiences that are revealing from this event. This is a full moon, but that is much more powerful. Therefore, it's very normal that you are feeling a lot of emotional movement. We have an stellium in Pisces that could bring to the surface emotions with which we didn't make contact, or perhaps were repressed, or we didn't give us a space to feel them in other moments of life. Also, the Piscean energy in its shadow could be expressed as this loss of sense, as a suffering that many times could disconnect us from life, and with this, and connect us with this wheel of escaping of everything that is uncomfortable or painful that could be presented in this plane of the matter. And if you are experimenting this kind of fallings, and this is about allowing to flow whatever thing we are feeling, but also make these tiny efforts to not perpetuate the mental pattern that is feeding that state. And many times the physical movement, reconnecting with nature, or doing something creative is something that could help. On the other side, we cannot not see the strong manifestation that the conjunction of Neptune and Saturn in Aries is having in its most unconscious version, which is the armed conflicts. And beyond that, the people that has the power to make these kind of choices clearly are not being examples of leaders that can act with consciousness, because they are blinded by their own ideals and the seeking of control and power. Even though wars are part of the human history as a painful path of learning that are inviting us, and that invite us, to resolve our differences and fragmentations in ways that could be each time more evolutionary. I think that today many of us can understand that in this kind of circumstances, no one wins. We are losing lives that cannot reveal the light that they came here to this world to reveal. But we cannot also forget about the responsibility that each one of us have as individuals in these collective manifestations. I mean, from the people that are participating for the destruction of another human being. And I know that this happens, and and it happened before, in many cases in a forced way by the same government system itself. But what would happen if we would stop to respond to them, if we protected each other? The people that are assuming this posture, on one side or other, as if this were a game, a football game, when that division and the projection of the enemy on the other keeps for us continuing ceding the power to the distortions, and the ones that are choosing to lead this kind of conflicts are putting in evidence that they don't have interest in the well-being of society. Also, the violence that we could exercise towards each other when we are crossing the boundaries of other, or we have imbalanced behaviors with the environment. And in another level, the inner wars that we could sustain when we are holding on our resistances. So this eclipsed energy makes that parts of us could be darker. I mean, these kind of behaviors that these kind of parts, that repress behaviors, and it is exposed everything that is not managed yet, or assimilated, or integrated, so people could act without filters and to show them the most instinctive parts and unconscious parts of themselves. So these tiny acts that we could impulse from our individuality, and if there are people that have big influences in the masses, they have more responsibility too. These are the energies that later are manifested in the great collective events. The truth is that Saturn here in Aries could give us very severe lessons when we are exercising behaviors that are impulsive and that could cause damage to ourselves or other people. So I think it is important to come back to our centers and to observe which part of us could develop more maturity at the time that we are taking actions, which are our motivations, because many times this anger, because we feel that something is unfair, could lead us to turn back an action in the same denser level that perhaps we consider that the other person acted. And this requires in many moments a lot of inner strength to to put a stop, to put a stop to our egos and to regulate ourselves. And this could be one of the learnings, or the mastery, I don't know if this is the word in English, to develop. Also, it is important to observe the quality of our desires. These are linked with Venus and with Aries. Venus, in short, is going to enter in Aries, and it is going to reactivate this conjunction. So it is marvelous, the capacity of using the initiator fire of Aries to go towards our desires. But if that emerges from an escapism of internal or external processes that we haven't assimilated or that they are not comfortable, instead of real connection with oneself, we could take opportunities people could present, or we could assume paths that represent a painful deviation of what our soul wants to transcend. We could turn them also into a learning. Every falling obstacle or setback, we could turn them into a passage to move forward, but we have to turn back to responsibility of our decisions. Understanding how we are responding in the face of the things that are happening. On the other side, I am noticing that many people could experiment these blockages or stagnation in certain areas of their lives, not because those projects are not actually evolutionary, but because they are in denial to let go of situations or to put boundaries in other areas of life that are producing this great energetical drain. Neptune and Pisces are symbols of unity, and beyond, in spite that many times we are seeing our life in a fragmented way, it is not. And the fact that, for example, we could be sustaining a relationship that presents much imbalance and that doesn't possess an evolutionary purpose, this could produce that other processes could present blockage in other areas, because this is the form, the way that life finds to pushes us to change a pattern that there is resistance to change. So the energy of Saturn many times it is expressed, showing us the things that actually we have difficulties, we struggle to develop. It is going to show certain level of challenge and of effort, because what is presenting is something that we haven't developed, or we have the invitation to develop more. But also it is the same energy of Saturn, the one that consolidates, that manifests in the matter, and that the one that leads us to experiment the top of the mountain, the achievement, the conquer. So perhaps we have difficulties to make an initiative because we are not trusting in ourselves, and actually we are not trusting in the force of cosmos that is operating inside of us. Or perhaps the challenge, it is coming from putting a boundary, limiting something that we have the tendency to do, but that is operating in detriment of our dreams and desires of the soul. So thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.